Okay. Mr. R wanted us to learn that I, Lexie, from his first period chemistry, have learned to an A level the following concepts from the first 12 chapters of our chemistry book. This is not an inclusive list, but my selection of concepts from each chapter that I will remember. In Chapter 1, Intro to Chemistry, it talks a little bit about pure chemistry versus applied chemistry. Pure chemistry is the pursuit of chemical knowledge for its own sake. Applied chemistry is research that is directed toward a practical goal or application. And Chapter 2, Matter and Change, it compares extensive and intensive properties. An extensive property is a property that depends on the amount of matter in a sample, and intensive property is a property that depends on the type of matter in the sample, not the amount of matter. Chapter 3, Scientific Measurement, mentions accuracy versus precision. To evaluate the accuracy of a measurement, the measured value must be compared to the correct value. To evaluate the precision of a measurement, you must compare the values of 2 or more repeated measurements. Chapter 4, Atomic Structure, explains why the periodic table is useful. A periodic table allows you to easily compare the properties of one element to another, and a periodic table is also helpful for scientists around the world to find information on the elements. In Chapter 5, Elements and Atoms, explains the quantum mechanical model comes from the mathematical solutions to the Schrödinger equation. It also determines that the allowed energies an electron can have and how likely it is to find an electron in various locations around the nucleus. In Chapter 6, the periodic table, it then talks about how the periodic table is organized. In the modern periodic table, elements are arranged in order of increasing atomic number. The pattern gives rise to the periodic law. When elements are arranged in order of increasing atomic number, there is a periodic repetition of their physical and chemical properties. Chapter 7, Ionic and Metallic Bonding, it explains what are valence electrons. Valence electrons are the electrons in the highest occupied level of an element's atom. To find the number of valence electrons in an atom of a representative element, you look at its group number. Chapter 8, Covalent Bonding, talks about what information a molecular formula provides. A molecular formula is the chemical formula of a molecular compound. The formula shows how many atoms of each element are. A molecule contains a molecular formula also describes a molecule as consisting of one element, but it does not tell you about molecule structure. In Chapter 9, Chemical Names and Formulas, it contrasts cations and anions. When the metals in group 1A, 2A, and 3A lose electrons, they form cations with positive charges equal to their group number. Nonmetals tend to gain electrons to form anions, so the charge of a non-metallic ion is negative. In Chapter 10, Chemical Quantities, it talks a lot about moles. A mole of a substance is 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd representative particles of that substance, and is the SI unit for measuring the amount of a substance. A mole of any substance contains Avogadro's number of representative particles. In Chapter 11, Chemical Reactions, it discusses the skeleton equation. The skeleton equation is the chemical equation that does not indicate the relative amounts of the reactants and products. The first step in writing a complete chemical equation is to write the skeleton equation. Write the formulas of the reactants to the left of the yield sign and the formulas of the products to the right. Lastly, in Chapter 12, Stoichiometry, it explains mole ratios. A mole ratio is a conversion factor derived from the coefficients of a balanced chemical equation interpreted in terms of moles. In chemical calculations, mole ratios are used to convert between moles of reactants and moles of products, between moles of reactants, or between moles of products. I think I wrote that twice by accident. This is my selection of concepts from each chapter of the first 12 chapters that I'll remember because Mr. Rasmussen's great and wonderful.
All right, and right up here, you know who else is great and wonderful? Yes, indeed. I'm so proud of what, she's an A in chemistry. Woohoo! And one other thing I want to make sure everybody knows, and because not very many people said it. A mole. You get to a mole of a substance by taking its atomic mass units and expressing it in grams. So, for example, sodium with an atomic mass unit, average atomic mass unit 23, if you got 23 grams of sodium, you would then have 1 mole of sodium, which would have 6.02 times 10 to the
23rd.
representative, somebody finish me,
Particles.
particles. Excellent. Woohoo! Thank you. So, you are going to like